Hi, good evening. This is Moshe Landman with the Green Party coming to you from Clarksburg, Maryland in this, as you can see here, global perspective. Today, we want to talk about immigration in the United States. I think many of you know, and I'm using this new microphone, which is exciting. I hope it sounds good. Many of you realize that Title 42 expired this weekend, and that has major consequences. Again, it was an emergency law when we were dealing with COVID, so the idea was to prevent the incoming diseases from especially the South, Mexican border, and those coming in. So it was an emergency measure. Now, the Green Party has a very specific, detailed immigration perspective and policy. Let me read you that. U.S. immigration. The United States needs a complete overhaul of our immigration laws. Specifically, the procedures and programs. Our current situation has created extreme social injustice. Millions of people are living and working in the United States with no legal status, making them subject to extreme exploitation and abuse. Immigration raids are terrorizing the immigrant community. Families are being broken up. Employer abuses of undocumented workers are rampant. Immigration policies such as separating families at the border, kids in cages, and the Title 42 program, which allows the United States Border Patrol and U.S. Customs to prohibit the entry of persons who potentially pose a health risk, a racist policy to fast-track deportations and prohibit refugees to seek asylum on U.S. soil must immediately cease. I guess part of that is already over, which is good news. ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, local police, and for-profit private prison corporations such as GEO Corp Group and Core Civic have taken advantage of the increase in anti-immigration legislation and created a symbiotic relationship. ICE's mission to protect America from cross-border crime and illegal immigration that threaten national security and public safety. This mission is executed through the enforcement of more than 400 federal statutes and focuses on immigration enforcement and combating transnational crime. Subscribes to the belief that every Latin American citizen is a criminal. I'm going to talk about more about this soon. Mass incarceration fuels the proliferation of for-profit prisons, while for-profit prison corporations encourage policies that increase the number of people behind bars, with various states implementing anti-immigration legislation. We know those states, Texas, Florida. Setting up detention centers has been an easy contractual agreement with the incentive that they must meet 80 to 100% fill capacity for payment. ICE reports that they have paid $85,000 per incarcerated individual and a total of $807 million for 19 for-profit detention centers. Racist policies must be abolished. Undocumented immigrants boost America's economic growth and raise the general productivity of America's workers by providing much-needed skills. Immigrant workers allow important sectors of the economy to expand, attract investment, and create employment opportunities for native-born Americans, contribute more in tax revenue than they collect, reduce American firms' incentives to offshore jobs and import foreign-produced goods, and benefit consumers by reducing the prices of goods and services. Economists estimate that legalization of the undocumented immigrant population would increase the immigrants' earnings and consumptions considerably and increase U.S. gross domestic product. So let's go over this a bit. We have a country of 334 million people. Of course, China has 1.5. India is about to overtake China. So the idea that we have too many people is nonsense. In fact, we won't be able to keep up with those two countries in the near future without more. Now, I'm not saying we should just bring in everybody from Mexico and everybody from Honduras and Guatemala, etc. We still won't have as many people as China. But we actually don't have a problem with immigration. Everyone knows that the Hispanic workers in America are some of the most hardworking. They build our homes. They build our communities. They are extremely hardworking. It's part of the culture. Very good families. And they're not recognized and given enough praise here in America. Remember, many of them are the ancestors of the Native Americans. There's probably mixed with Spanish and all those who came, but they're actually more Native than us. Those of us who came from Europe, for example, my family from Russia, Poland. Those who came from England, Germany, Italy. So they actually have potentially more rights to be here than we do. So the idea that we're preventing them from coming is actually could be very much wrong. Now let's talk about. We had Title 42, during the COVID, we had to shut this down. Then you have Trump believing we need to basically wall it off. He thinks that they're all criminals. Now, the truth is, the gangs and the crimes have all been fed by American guns. This all goes back to the gun issue. The Second Amendment, we need to abolish. We need to repeal the Second Amendment. American companies have been selling the guns to the gangs and feeding this whole, and then we buy the drugs. We bought the marijuana, the heroin, etc. So we in America we have been the cause and the source of all of the reason why they're running here. Instead of us helping build these communities in Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, we're feeding crime and all of this negative energy that we're bringing down there. So right now the solution, of course, is just not to just open everything and let everybody in necessarily, but those who are already in, we need to make it a pathway to legalize citizenship. And we need them here. That's the truth. We need a lot more building. We have a $6 million shortage of homes, a 6 million units. I'm sorry. We need to build. We're negative 6 million in terms of the number of houses. So we have a huge shortage of housing. We need these folks here to help us build those homes and communities. There's plenty of room in America. We could fit 1 billion people. We can fit 3 billion people in America, to be honest. So there's no reason for them not to be here. Now, again, we have to work on crime. We have to work on all these situations. A reasonable policy for immigration is, yes, at this point, you still have to come in legally. People should be applying. They shouldn't be walking in. There should be a process. But as long as people are educated and getting to a certain level, we will probably want them here. But the whole system has to be revamped from scratch. The Green Party has great ideas in this area. And we have a lot of work to do. So we're going to go into each issue one by one. And we believe the Green Party has potential to grow as a serious party in America. We are now basically a non-existent no party compared to what it is in Europe, Australia, and other areas. But we're starting to realize that the Red Party, the Republican Party, is becoming so focused on war, fighting with the debt ceiling, not letting us, using that as essentially a tool to blackmail our country, even though it's artificial. We don't need a ceiling on debt. We just need a policy to borrow appropriately. We think the Red Party is on its way down. Trump is an embarrassment for our country. He is a complete, I would say, it's hard to even imagine. He's not a politician. He doesn't understand the law. He just attacks people, and he's an embarrassment for the party. So it's time to raise a new party, to have sensible immigration laws. And we need to talk about these. We need to get rid of these for-profit prisons and those who are stuck at the border. We just need to start bringing them in. Kindness is a better policy. So we're going to talk more about that in future videos. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.